What's going on, everyone? We're back. We're racing, and we're talking F1. So we're going to be talking about the test so far, what's going on, what's in the news, and in the headlines. We're going to do a bit of a recap. We're going to go through some different articles with you here. So the most striking thing is that Honda have more laps than Mercedes. Ferrari are on top, dominating so far at this test. So Ferrari, including Alfa Romeo and Haas, they've clocked up a total of 1,489 laps, which is the equivalent of 4,655 meters for their Ferrari. It's named the 064 power unit. Honda came in second with 957 laps, which is considerably less, like a third of what the Ferraris managed to achieve. And that was just with the Red Bull and Toro Rosso. Now, obviously, there's factors in this. Racing Point, I haven't been on track as much, so the Merc engine in the back of that hasn't been getting too many miles, as well as, of course, the late arrival of the Williams team, which has contributed to that as well. We're going to run down and have a look in terms of laps. So this is from the best laps from all of the test days so far. So you've seen Nico Hulkenberg. Obviously, he's used the softest available tire, which is the C5 compound for the Renault team, and he's got a 117.3. Alexander Albon, he's in P2 overall, again with the same tire. He's just over a quarter of a second behind. That was done on day 4, so the last day of the first test. And then moving down, so pretty much down to 6th place, everyone is on the C5, apart from Lewis Hamilton, who's on the C4 tire, got 117.9, just over half a second off the fastest pace. Can't read too much into that because a lot of sandbagging jokes, memes going around with the Mercedes team in particular. But I do think there is real cause for concern. I don't think they've had the ideal start like Ferrari have, and you could even throw Red Bull in there as well. The likes of Alfa Romeo have really got some great testing under their belt, and at the same time had good reliability, had some real good pace, looked quite balanced, composed on track. The slowest of the drivers, of course, is the Williams team. They've been running pretty much the hardest compounds that most teams have run in this test. Kubica, he's had the least running out of everyone, so you can't really read too much into that as well. Good to see Fittipaldi, the junior driver, getting some time in the Haas. That was on the final day of test, and you've got 119.2 there. Here's a picture of the current Renault car in all its glory. The best laps from teams so far is Renault, Toro Rosso, Alfa Romeo, Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren, Haas, Red Bull, Racing Point, and Williams. So as you can see, Red Bull down there, you think they'd be further up, but I think they're just doing their program of events. Number of laps completed. This way, gets interesting because now you look at it, and Mercedes look quite bulletproof when it comes to their two drivers heading up the field. So you can see they've been purely focusing on that long race simulations, etc., really racking up the miles, getting as much testing under their belt as they can. Today, in day 1 of the second test, they did have an issue with Bottas's car. I believe it was some oil pressure issues, maybe some oil leak from the car or something like that. They managed to replace the whole power unit and get them back out in the afternoon session, I think it was. So that's really impressive that they managed to do that, the team. And some great mileage on the clock there. So Lewis Hamilton with 307, Bottas with 303 laps, both between them. Very closely matched, even so, by Vettel with 303 and Leclerc with 295. Then we go down the Toro Rosso of Albon. He's done a considerable number of laps, and then remember, this is quite physical with these cars, so these boys have really been putting their work in, getting their money's worth. The team are getting their money's worth out the drivers, shall we say. Giovinazzi, good to see him consistent on track action as well. Kimi Raikkonen looks rejuvenated in his Alfa Romeo. Norris has looked pretty good. He did have one off. He recovered pretty well, got some solid lap times in. So good luck to Norris this year. Hope he does well. We're going to move on now. Number of laps per team. So you can see Mercedes top the pile with 610. Then Ferrari 598. Alfa Romeo just over, 90 just behind Ferrari there. Toro Rosso 482. Considerably less when you look at an extra 100 laps Merc and Ferrari have got, and then all the way down to Williams. You can see how far they're behind there. Only 409 kilometers as opposed to the top teams getting good considerable amount, 2,500 kilometers under their belts. In terms of engines, you can see Ferrari there laps per car 496, Honda 478, Mercedes 315, Renault 439. So Ferrari, a massive amount of laps. Great data for them under their belts. Must give great credit to Max F1 here. They've done a great publication. I do strongly suggest you visit their website so you can look at the speed comparison here as well. So the Renault looking quite superior. No one would have really said that, like looking on track, that the Renault looks quickest in the straight line, but Ferrari and Honda closely matching, and the Mercedes, strangely enough, I think that's just them have to put it into party mode. It'll probably be off the page. So be interesting to see how things go from there. Looking at some other news, Alpha's been quite surprised apparently to have such a great concept out of the bag, get it straight on the car, and getting some real performance in there with their concept, which is a bit radical compared to some teams. I think it's a bit of a compromise between what Ferrari and Mercedes have tried to achieve, and we'll look at some imagery of that very shortly. Schumacher, apparently Mick Schumacher, the son of the legend Michael Schumacher, he's going to be testing the Alfa Romeo in April. So that's great to see the Schumacher name, the brand, back in the F1 where it belongs. Do you think he belongs there? Do you think he's got the pedigree where it takes? He was suffering for a while in F3, I think it was. One of the junior formulas, I know, and then he did have a good run of results, which has really propelled him now. Leclerc, of course, he wants his win soon. He wants to get that in the bag, make the team believe in him. So if he is ahead, maybe they won't rein him in as much with Sebastian behind. Ricardo, he's looking hopeful of passing. Will be a bit easier. Ricardo, he likes to send one first class up the inside and really dive bomb opponents. So he's going to be looking for a strong front end this year, as always, on his car. Hopefully he gets the car he deserves. Bottas, he expects equal treatment early in 2019. I think Mercedes will do it. They'll give him free roam to race. I don't think in the, for instance, the opening race, there's going to be any team orders unless they are on completely different strategies. Say, for instance, Bottas is doing a 2-stop race, Lewis on a 3-stop, on quicker tires, different strategy. Maybe that could play into it. But then again, the lap delta should allow the second car to pass, you would hope. So anyway, with these 30% better DRS capability anyway. There was a fire in the McLaren garage. Apparently, 3 of the mechanics got taken to hospital with some minor burns, and science has played this down as a very small fire and nothing to be concerned of. Norris is preparing very hard for his F1 debut. If you watch any videos that Norris puts out, he does some vlogs and stuff sometimes with other YouTube channels, which is great to see. And he's always hard at work on the simulator, learning every detail he can from every track, because, of course, he's a relative novice when it comes to track experience. He's probably not raced at most of them other than in the junior formula. So he's not got years of experience behind his back. Russell defends Williams after the test delay. I think they've, done a pretty solid job since they've got on track. They've got some good mileage under the belt now with George, and it's not looking a million miles away. There's a lot of work to do. It's going to be hard to tell until everyone turns the engines up and really goes for the full beans come Albert Park in just over 2 weeks' time. What else have we got here of interest? Newey's apparently saying overtaking is not easier in 2019. What do you think? Well, we're not really going to know until we get to a track, especially notoriously bad like Albert Park. Maybe on some of the better tracks for overtaking. Don't know why, but Azerbaijan springs to mind with that long straight. Maybe it's going to be too easy in places like that. Potentially Monza, even Spa, going up the hill through Eau Rouge, Radion, and down the straight there. So let me know your thoughts on overtaking. Is it going to be improved this season, or is it not? Ferrari gets no points for strong winter. This is Horner having a sly dig. Well, not a sly dig, big slap in the face on the Ferrari boys, saying if there was a championship for pre-season testing, it would go to Ferrari every season because they turn up and they're always on top of the charts. But rarely has shaken down that way for the last however many seasons, 7 or 8 years at least. Hamilton has no interest in the Triple Crown, so hopefully that's good news for us F1 fans. He's looking to really stay in the sport for a long time and cement his legacy. Montezemolo dislikes the Ferrari colour. A lot of us have been calling it orange. and I think Laura called it a coral orange or something along those lines, which is great insight. The feminine side. Bottas, nothing fundamentally wrong with the car. We're going to get onto a few images in a minute of what the cars are looking like now, because they are quite drastically different. So yeah, we're going to run through that with you in a second. Wolf Leclerc, a luxury problem for Ferrari. I don't think it's a luxury problem. I think he will score more consistently than Kimi. I think Kimi is not suited to being a number 2 driver. With a younger driver, you know, he can learn his trade a bit under Sebastian in the first season or so anyway. He might come out the bag and really put it toe to toe and cause a real headache for the Ferrari team and their strategists, etc. So let me know what your thoughts are on the topics, the discussions from today. It'll be interesting to get your feedback, what you think about the channel, what we can do more of, less of, and any good ideas that you possibly could have. What else we got in here? Lauda's doctors ruled out a flight to Melbourne, which is sad. We wish you the best, Nikki. We hope you get well soon, and we hope to see you trackside in the garage, preventing Toto from breaking his wrist again on the table when he's getting frustrated with maybe Ferrari's dominance in the early part of this year. Good to Steiner said standard gearbox not decided yet. Interesting. We have to read more into that to get back to you. Russell says Kubica must cooperate, not compete. Oh, strong words there, I must say. I want to be careful, Russell. So is he trying to say Kubica's not the man? He's the man. I'm the alpha, and you're not, basically. If there's anyone's not watched this, I highly recommend you go and have a look at the Netflix series, which is going to be all about inside teams, similar to what we had about McLaren a few years ago as well, which was a great documentary, great insight. And the news is Mercedes and Ferrari, they did not wish to cooperate with the series, so they didn't take part. Of course, they was in a title fight, so that's why they didn't want to give any insight, give any clues away to the opposition, which I think is fair play to both of them. I don't think you can knock them too hard for that, but of course the likes of Red Bull, etc., they're going to jump on the bandwagon and say how bad they are for the sport, etc. So Leclerc thinks the rivals are bluffing, that they're playing their cards close to the chest. They're not really giving everything that they can on track. Red Bull has denied Honda engine vibration rumors. That was a rumor when we saw the scaffolding, that sort of triangle just under the rear wing, just to try and hold it together. So maybe that was just a different concept, just something they was trying to run, see with maybe a stiffer format, how it works, etc. So now we're going to get into some of the cars, some of the features on the cars. Mercedes have come with a completely new design. They was looking like to try and inwash on the end plates around the corners. However, now they're actually trying to go with the outwash idea. Mercedes running a completely different concept to Ferrari, for instance, where this inner section around the nose cone is quite high in its profile, but more delicate, and Ferrari going the opposite way with that. A look at the rear wing here. You can see how much they've changed from last year, just how grand and big they are. You can see a little T-wing there on the upward support of the rear wing, and the DRS opening itself. So some teams, this is an area where they can develop, and they're putting a little T-wing on there just to manage the airflow a bit better, a bit more effectively under the rear wing of the car, as it looks like there. So we're getting different parts all the time. As you can see, with the Ferrari, slightly different. So it's got a higher profile on the very inside of the front wing, then going quite shallow on the outside, whereas Mercedes are running quite high on the outside and then quite shallow and intricate on the inside. So a bit of different strategy there. Mercedes should have a lot more downforce, you would think, just with the way they're running their wing. However, obviously Ferrari, they've been running pretty strong in their pre-season testing, so they must be getting something right with how they manage that air further down the car around the wheels and create minimal wash. Just look at the complexity on this rear wing of the Ferrari. Look how many little veins and cuts. It looks like something you'd cut when you was at school, like a little decoration. It's just amazing how intricate it is and how they want to use every last bit of bodywork to really manage that air and just get as much performance as they can, maximum grip, slickness, and outright downforce, basically. So it's a work of art. So you can see it from the side on how the air must be flowing through the back of there and creating different pressures. And yeah, just it's mad how it works. You can see the little T-wing there on the Ferrari, so it's a bit more of a sort of oval, rectangular shape, whereas Mercedes was running just quite a simple little spoiler on the back there of the car. So really little beautiful, intricate design from Ferrari. We see different variations of it. Of course, different tracks have different characteristics and different needs. So here's Renault's take on it. Pretty simple front wing design. Again, not that central area of the nose cone has been restricted. One thing I didn't mention on the Mercedes, it's got a little kink in the nose now. That's part of their new nose feature. It's to help channel air as best they can from the lowest point of that front wing down under around the barge board area and create as much ground effect, and also channel the air along the side of the car, some of it into the airbox, and of course manage it away from the rear wheels of the car. So you can see the more radical design, not looking as radical now that everyone's turned up to testing, but it's still looking like a great design. Alfa Romeo have had pretty solid pace, you must say, in this testing. Cars look composed. You can see a T-wing in the background, just hanging under the rear wing of that Alfa. And it looks like their car's not a million miles away of, on a bad day for other teams, scoring some serious points, you must say. You can see the Williams in the background running their rakes there. It's great to see them on track, getting some mileage under their belt, and great to see George Russell in the top premier of motor racing, which is Formula One. Not too sure about the rocket livery. I do like the color, the blue and the white. A lot of people joke around saying it's very simple design, but yeah, the rocket logo doesn't really do that car justice. The Martini Racing one definitely did. So let me know your thoughts on the video. It's always great to interact with you. I'd like to get you involved with some of it. So if we can arrange a time and a place, to do a hangout, do a chat, come up with some topics, do a little bit of research in advance, I'd really like to do that. Gonna just leave it there, and I'll speak to you all very, very soon, and have a good evening. Bye bye for now.